Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Heal at Scale Studio. In the studio today, I have a rock star from Precision Analytical. Precision Analytical has tons of cred in the functional medicine and testing space, but I feel like even that is almost being shadowed by the Dutch line of testing, which is within that same umbrella. So I will make sure you know that what we're addressing today is specifically the Dutch testing. And I asked Precision if they could spare Dr. Kelley for just a little bit to hang out with us today for a few core reasons that I think really matter to you and the bottom line for your business. I think we all hold the Dutch line of testing, specifically the Dutch Complete, almost as like the gold standard of what we should be doing. But all tests come with a level of controversy, right? Like, oh, maybe I don't give that any credit. It should be blood, or I don't give, it should be urine, it should be saliva. Everybody has their own beliefs. So I would like us to clean that up. And I would like us to have a really clear, heart-centered decision-making process around why we're using that test. And then the other thing that I want to make sure we do is we explore some of the other tests that are available in the Dutch line, because a lot of you guys are leaning in and experiencing massive growth in your business by profiting from your marketing, right? So if you guys have been with us through the Labs to Lead Summit and you've moved labs from, you guys used to have them, you would do your marketing and then your sales and enrollment into working with you. And then way down here, finally, with the little trickle of clients that you close, right? You're ordering those tests. And if you've been moving those along with our community from the back, behind the paywall of all of that, and actually up to the top of your marketing where you're doing symptoms-based content and you're speaking in kitchen table language to bring them in the door, and then you show off your medical expertise and you invite people to actually get access to the test as a way of both building trust and letting them see from their own body, right? You guys, it's not like they don't have to take it from you if they see it from their own body. If you have been doing that, a lot of you have expressed to me that you're very concerned about the high price point relative, high price point for an entry level offer if you want to use the Dutch Complete in that marketing, strategy. And so I thought, why don't we get Dr. Kelley into conversation with us? Because if we have other options in the Dutch line that can illuminate, it can give people that sense of, whoa, there's really roaches in the kitchen. It's time for me to solve this problem, right? If there are other options in the Dutch line that don't negate us ordering the Dutch Complete later, like when they're in a full program with us or when they're in that 3-month or 6-month package with us, then let's take a look at those. There might be some options where we could choose just enough information for the potential client to say, whoa, I'm not crazy. There is something going on here. Then you can pull them deeper into your world, right? So a more shallow conversation, I know we don't ever want to do that, but just to get them in the conversation, can we have a slightly less in-depth conversation than we would in the Dutch Complete, for example, pull them into our world. And then when they see the value of optimizing their hormones, then we can say, okay, now we're going to look at how we metabolize all these different hormones, what we need to do about them. Then we can welcome into the ocean of what is possible. But can we get a more of a trickly stream that pulls more people in so that you have that flood of business that you're looking for? Okay. So that's the conversation that I want to have, because I want you guys to have absolute validation that you're choosing the right test. I want you to know that there's more to Dutch than just the Dutch Complete, and that I really think that there are some really interesting options that we could pull to the forefront. And then we're also going to show you a hair loss case study that I think is really, really exciting. And there is a woman in my private mastermind, the Practitioner Accelerator Mastermind, who has been gunning to do like a hair regrowth, sort of, get that full head of hair back. She's been wanting to do an online program about that. So I know she's chomping at the bit to hear what Dr. Kelley has to say about that. I dug up what research I could find on my own, and it's super, super exciting. So I'm excited to welcome to the Heal at Scale studio today, Dr. Kelley Ruef from Precision Analytical. How you doing, Kelley?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me today. I'm really excited to be here and have this conversation. We got a lot of time
Yeah.
to do it. So usually I only have like 50 minutes.
I
So this is
know.
great.
I'm excited. I'm like, I just feel like, okay, you guys have done a bang up job of marketing. So, game recognized game. I just want to throw that out there. Obviously, you guys, like, Kelley's the medical side, I'm the marketing side, but I really want to throw down like massive compliments to Dutch for making their name known and their difference known in the space to such a degree that many of the practitioners, Kelley, that I work with, like women will come to the practitioners knowing Dutch by name and really wanting that, which I think speaks to the fact that you guys are putting yourselves out there. You're willing to do things like this. You're willing to be, you personally are willing to be the face of the company and come, have the tough questions. Should we be doing blood? Should we be doing urine? Should we be doing saliva? Like, I think keeping this conversation is a part of your marketing, but hands down, like you guys are one of the most recognized by consumer test names that I have encountered. So high five to you and your marketing
I,
team.
thank you. Thank you for saying that because like we really do try. I mean, we're constantly publishing new research articles. We're very transparent and just have like very honest conversations with providers. Oh gosh, I just feel like this is why one reason why I really love working for this company because they really focus on not profit so much, but we had like a full team meeting yesterday, our full company meeting yesterday, and the owner, Mark Newman, like emphasized this. He's like, we could grow much faster if we were just focused on profit, but we're focused on being like a very specialized lab. And he said, doing what we do with excellence and always striving to be better. So our goal is always to help change the life of a patient and a million more. We do specialize in this specific hormone testing. And we could branch out to a lot. We could offer a lot of other testing panels, but then we wouldn't be like the best at what we're currently doing. So we're putting a lot of money, a lot of energy into like, you know, the testing methods that we're using and optimizing them so that every patient gets the best results. And yeah, so that we can keep
I
the
love it.
name in the
And
space.
something that I struggle to get practitioners to be willing to do is to focus on a particular avatar, serve a particular audience to meet a particular objective. And that is just a reminder what she said, you guys. Like the leaders in her own company, the leaders there at Dutch are saying, yeah, we could go wide and we could try to serve everybody, but can we be excellent at that? And so that is a perfect example of them having a marketing conversation that says, do we really want to go wide or do we want to do something? Do we want to serve a specific audience really, really well at the highest possible level? And when I ask you guys to narrow down, those of you who are like, I do functional medicine, I can solve everything from chronic ear infections to infertility to, all these crazy things in between, right? When I ask you to narrow down for your marketing, like I love hearing companies like Dutch sharing that they're having to have that same conversation. We can either go wide or we can tap into old school marketing concepts. Like I'm talking old school, right? Like Ogilvy era. Like if you're speaking to everybody, nobody's listening. Right. So if we decide we're going to serve a particular audience, we're going to serve them really, really well. You guys, that's where the success is at. And so you can see that in the success of Dutch. So just another reminder to narrow down, keep your audience clear and serve them at the highest level. That's definitely going to be how you win. When you bring them into your world, of course, they may, explore other things with you, right? If you come into the world through Dutch and you need something more expansive, Precision Analytical's probably got you covered. You know what I mean? So it's the same kind of concept. They're going to go narrow and serve really well with Dutch in this specific hormone related context. And then if you come into the Precision Analytical world, there is a whole bunch of other things that you can help. Same with your business. Okay, so we'll get off the marketing kick right now. I just really needed to congratulate them because I know other amazing labs out there. I was talking with one the other day in the genetic space, and they're so good at what they do, and they haven't like nailed their marketing, nailed their message, and they're feeling the impact of that. So when I see a brand in the testing space that's doing it well, I definitely want to congratulate. Okay, so
Thank you.
let's just dig into the testing itself, Kelley, because I feel like no matter what test you pick, somebody can find the research to refute you, right? So let's just do a quick, I know you probably have to do this all the time, so you don't have to spend a ton of time on it, but I at least want to re-present everyone to why Dutch, why the sample collection form that you use, and just kind of touch on that blood versus urine versus saliva conversation.
Okay. Okay, I'll try to do it quickly. So,
Relatively,
um,
yeah, no pressure. I can have you back if we don't hit everything. But I feel like there is a lot of like, oh, well, this mentor of mine might not respect my decision to choose Dutch because they believe in this or they believe in that. And so I just want to kind of reinforce, like
right.
personally, you guys, I've seen this because after speaking with with one of the co-founders, Dr. Guy Citron of Endo Access, and their choice to lean into Dutch as the test that they built that supplement line behind. It's like, it was interesting to hear some of the, stabs in the dark that they took to confirm which testing was the right one to roll. And of course, they rolled their whole corporation is built on the back end of a Dutch, right? You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I feel like I have some insight into that just from industry experts that I've spoken to in the past. But I want to represent that for everybody just so everyone feels like really rock solid in their decision and has a little bit more info that might help them back that up if they get a little bit of pushback.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so with serum, with blood, that's like conventionally the standard of care. People are using serum, right? And what Dutch is doing a good job of right now is publishing research articles to show, like in major journals like Menopause, and having posters at the Menopause Society, to try to like get urine into more of that conventional space, right? So urine is great for looking at how hormones are being metabolized. And I always give an example. I say you could measure total testosterone in the serum. You could even look at the active portion, the free testosterone in the serum, but that's only going to tell you a little bit of information. It's going to tell you like how much of that testosterone was in the free form and the active form at that moment in time. It gives you some information, and sometimes it's enough to really guide that treatment plan. Sometimes it is enough, but many times you might get like a total testosterone that's normal or a free testosterone that's normal, but a woman comes in with acne and she's like, we can't figure it out, can't figure out why I have acne or why I have hair loss, right? And this is where like the urine metabolites really shine. So when you look at the urine, of course, you see how that testosterone's being broken down. And the way I like to think of it, and a really simple way that you can explain it to your symptom or your patients, your clients, is that the testosterone, it can be metabolized different ways. And sometimes when it's metabolized, it's more activated. And then other times when it's metabolized, it's more deactivated. And so the way you metabolize your testosterone can really affect your symptoms, like your acne or your hair loss. So if you metabolize your testosterone and you activate it more, then that could be a reason why you're having all this acne, but your testosterone in the serum is normal, right? It's just the way
Got
you're
it. Okay, so
metabolizing it.
you're kind of, and when you have that conversation with, I mean, obviously the way the Dutch report comes out. So if you guys have not seen a Dutch report, please like connect with the Dutch team and make sure that you get educated on the amazing way that they break things down because I've just never been more impressed with something. Now, obviously you could easily overwhelm people, so you want to be careful with this in like your top of funnel marketing, your initial conversation. Like I love the way that this is absolutely broken down the not just the volume or the levels, but also the way things are metabolized. So if you haven't done that yet, use this QR code and connect with them and get in touch and get a walkthrough of it for sure. But I'm
Yes.
curious for you, when you break that down, are you sort of saying like, oh, when it's metabolized this way, we see these type of symptoms, and when it's metabolized that way, we see other symptoms? Are you literally breaking it down that way for them in conversation?
Yes. Yes. And I think it's important to really take into account the patient's symptoms, right? So what you're going to, like the example you're going to give is going to dependent or be dependent on the patient's symptoms. So, if a woman comes in and she's got heavy bleeding, then I would say, well, we could look at your estrogen in the serum, but it might be interesting to know that there is a certain way that some women break down and metabolize their estrogen in their bodies. And some women, they break it down in such a way that they create this really kind of potent, proliferative like estrogen metabolite that causes tissue growth and can worsen heavy bleeding. So it might be interesting to look at the urine, look at how you're metabolizing your estrogen to see if the way you're metabolizing it is making your heavy bleeding worse.
And how do you explain, like, and I realize we could go deep into the rabbit hole here, but I'm curious about how do you break down when you're explaining it to a patient? How do you break down urine versus saliva versus blood? Is there a simple conversation that you have with them to explain why that is a more accurate way? In you guys, everybody, you guys, I get it. I don't want a bunch of nasty emails that you have your own belief system, but I'm just curious, for obviously Dutch is a fully on board, with the way that they're collecting testing. But when you present that to a patient, is there an explanation that you guys advocate practitioners using with their clients?
Yeah, I mean the way I do it is I say serum is great. We're definitely going to use serum most likely because it does give us a lot of great information, and there's a lot of things in serum that you can test that you can't test in the saliva or the urine.
Yeah.
Um, but urine can give us a little more additional insights into the way you're metabolizing those hormones and how that could be influencing your symptoms. Plus, with urine, we can look at cortisol. We can look at adrenal function, which could give us more insight into why you're having hot flashes or why you're so tired or why you can't sleep.
Yeah.
Um, and then I'll say, like with saliva, I think where saliva shines is with cortisol. Like saliva is kind of gold standard for measuring cortisol. So
Yeah.
that's usually where I use saliva is to measure cortisol. Um, I think saliva can do a decent job at measuring sex hormones in women who are still cycling but not on hormones. And I think it could be less expensive, so I might look down that go down that route in those scenarios. But for the most part, I'm using the serum to look at like estradiol, total testosterone, free testosterone, sex hormone binding globulin, LH, FSH, etc. You know,
Okay.
fasting insulin, all that stuff. And then the Dutch urine to look at how they're metabolizing their hormones.
Okay, so that's interesting. So within the context of people who are struggling to use let's say the Dutch Complete in the way that we use it and you were part of the Labs to Leads conversation. So I know you're familiar with this process. So
Yeah.
in your workflow, would that be more like, oh, well, we would start with serum and then we would move on to Dutch in the more comprehensive program or in the one-on-one package that they purchase? Would that be your normal workflow?
It really depends on their symptoms, and then it
Okay.
depends on the package
Yeah, yeah.
that you're offering, of course. I
Yeah.
think if you wanted to offer a less expensive package, you
Yeah.
definitely could start with serum
Yeah,
for a lot of
exactly. Because
people.
it's so affordable, and
Yeah,
it's enough to turn the lights on. It's enough for them to have that experience of turn the lights on, see the roaches scatter, and that's kind of what we're
yeah,
looking for is some sort of validation that, oh man, I'm not crazy. There really is something going on here to get them to dive into the complete pool of doing the Dutch Complete.
right. Yeah, if a woman
Yeah.
comes in with acne and we say, okay, let's start with just measuring your testosterone in the serum.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
It's not going to be as expensive as an
Yeah.
entire Dutch Complete.
Yep.
Um, and we'll just start there. And if it
Yeah.
comes back high, you got your answer. You know,
Yeah.
if it
Yeah.
comes back high, you can start treating this high testosterone,
Yeah.
try to bring down the testosterone. If you're running into trouble and you feel like you can't bring down the testosterone or the symptoms, maybe you are bringing the testosterone down, but the symptoms aren't getting better like you would expect, then you might say,
Yep.
well, maybe we should do a Dutch Complete and see how you're metabolizing that testosterone. Because if you're really activating it, that's another area where we could treat, where we
Yeah.
could help your body not activate it so much.
Yes. Okay, got it. Okay, so for those of you who have been struggling with that, that's one solution. And you guys, I'm going to make sure that you guys have access to Avexia because the entire line of Dutch is available through Avexia. but also you can get your own custom blood panels set up through Avexia, right? So like if that's the solution that you want to lean into, oh, okay, well, let's start with a simple serum and then let's move on to the Dutch Complete, and that would be included in either your group program or your one-on-one package. That is one process for you. And Avexia is a good solution for you to do that because you'd have access to both via one company through one portal. Okay. So I'm going to make sure that you guys have that. Remember, if you were using that model for client acquisition, right? So we have to separate the conversation Kelley and I are having. So if this is someone who's already a patient in your clinic, different. Now we're ordering on your license, right? But when we're talking about this acquiring new customers, then we could acquire the customer through a blood serum test ordered through Avexia using the signing physician network because they're a prospect, they're not yet a patient, okay? And then when they come into your world, and now if they have signed up on that one-on-one package, now you're using your Avexia account without the signing physician. So just to kind of keep things clear and make sure that we're both exploring the medical side with Kelley, and also I'm giving you clear reminders about how this would actually integrate into your business structure, okay? So it would be while they're a prospect, you're using the signing physician network. Once they're in your world, agreements are signed. We know who's, under whose medical care. Then, of course, you could order the Dutch Complete totally on your practitioner, on your practitioner license yourself. If they're one-on-one, and if they're in your group program, then they would stay in the signing physician network, okay? Because all of those have to stay education and entertainment. Okay. That's the agreement that they sign when they join your group. So just want to clarify that too. Kelley, I want to make sure they can apply what we're talking about in their business. So sorry if I'm doing weird
No,
interjections here.
no, that is great. I think that's great.
Yeah.
And
Okay. So
one,
that's one example, but I do want to ask about some other
yeah,
examples because I find that what works best to really bring people into the practices, the functional medicine practices at scale, is to have a very symptom specific conversation. And this is where I think we could open the door to talking about other tests that are in the Dutch sort of wheelhouse, in the Dutch library of tests, where we could have a very specific conversation. So let's just do, because I know the practitioners struggle the most with marketing, but then they need to deliver on the medical side of the fence, on the testing side of the fence. And they have both of us here. They have you and me here together, right? Because we can reach across our little Brady Bunch divide and we can give the answers to both sides. So let's walk through an example of a very specific hormone symptom for which we could use a test other than the Dutch. And you guys, we did not pre-pick a symptom or anything. So I'm literally throwing this at her with no preparation. But let's just take the hormone imbalanced woman whose sleep is a complete and total wreck. Okay. So that means she's either struggles to fall asleep and then she finally does. And then she gets that typical wake up around the 2, 3 a.m. kind of thing. That's one very narrow symptom that, a charismatic, fun, playful functional medicine practitioner in the hormone space could pop on and do a 90-second video of oh, do you struggle to fall asleep? And then you finally get to sleep and then you wake up and you look at the clock and it's oh, it's only 2 or 3 in the morning. Oh my God. How am I ever gonna live my life if I don't start getting sleep? That's an example of speaking directly to just one among the whole pile of haystack of symptoms. We're just picking one piece of hay out of that pile, and we could have a conversation that would stop the scroll because the woman who's experiencing that would be oh my God, that's me to a T. It's the heavens put this person in my feed. So if that was something that was happening, what is another thing that we could look at, Kelley, without leaning in fully to the Dutch Complete?
so okay, so we have smaller panels. You're talking
Yep,
about,
that's
oh
what I'm
yeah, okay.
curious about. Yeah, yeah.
So
So
we've got like,
what else could we, we're just spitballing, you guys. Honestly, I didn't tell her this. I'm just putting her on the spot.
I love
So
it. No, I love it
yeah,
because
yeah.
actually the main reason people run the Dutch test is for perimenopause, and that
Yeah.
is a huge complaint of
Okay.
perimenopausal women. They just can't sleep anymore. Okay, so we do have smaller individual panels, and the one that I would choose would really kind of be based upon their age, their cycle regularity, um, where I think their hormone status is, and how stressed they are. So okay, so we have the sex hormone only panel. which is probably about $200 cheaper than the Dutch Complete. So it's like
Yep.
pretty
Okay.
affordable.
Okay,
And
great. So
the sex
I'm
hormone
taking
only
notes because I
panel.
have to pass this on to my mastermind. Okay, so you guys have the what's that panel called?
It's
Tell me
called the
the
sex hormone only panel.
okay.
And you order the Dutch Complete, but on the requisition form you mark sex hormones only.
Ah, okay.
And you get a lot of information still. You get
Okay.
more information. I mean, even if you ordered a cash pay blood test and you looked at total testosterone, sex hormone, binding globulin, albumin, you calculated the free testosterone, you looked at the estradiol, like it adds up. It can be expensive, and sometimes it can be
Yeah.
more expensive than what you would get from the sex hormone only panel.
Yep.
Plus, you get a lot more information about the metabolism of the
Yeah,
hormones through the
exactly.
sex
Okay.
hormone only panel. But if they're like perimenopausal, they can't sleep, their cycles are getting longer and longer, or maybe they're really short, I might say, let's look at the sex hormone only panel. That's a less expensive way to kind of get them in the door. And
Yeah.
when you show them that their progesterone is low, or maybe that they've got estrogen dominance, or some of these things that you can see with sleep issues, or even low estrogen. A lot of women can't sleep when their estrogen declines, so maybe their
Yep.
cycles are getting longer and longer and they're not bleeding for 3 months at a time or 4 months at a time. They might just have
Yeah.
low progesterone and low estrogen, and no wonder you can't sleep. And so when
Yeah.
you order that test, it really is a great kind of getting the foot in the door there. You can show them their results and say, hey, like your progesterone is low or your estrogen is low, or maybe both are low. And this could be contributing to some of the sleep issues you're having. And then once you start working with them and you start gaining their trust, and they're like full on into the program, you can say, well, we could probably optimize your sleep even more, or
Hold on. I'm gonna have you repeat that, Kelly, just because we had a tiny like maybe connection hick with the internet or something. So just repeat back like 30 seconds ago what you said.
okay, 30 seconds, 30 seconds. I think I was saying when you
I'm just
get their
gonna
foot
make
in the
sure
door.
everybody can hear.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Okay,
When
so
you get
when you
your
get your
foot in
foot
the
in the
door.
door, we got a little
Oh,
helicopter
no. Okay.
vibes on
Well,
your on your
I'm still
connection.
here. I'm still here. Okay, so
Okay,
when
there we
once you
go.
get their foot in the
All right.
door and you can show them with the sex hormone only panel, like, hey, like, look, your progesterone is low or your estrogen is low. Then after they start to gain trust and get more kind of involved with the program, with your program, you can say, well, we can do other things now to look at other reasons that might be contributing to your sleep. So you could even do like a Dutch adrenal panel where you're just looking at the cortisol. And you might find that they've got really high cortisol. You're like, oh, no wonder you can't sleep. Your cortisol is really high during the day. Like, let's talk about stress. Let's talk about all the other things that can elevate cortisol throughout the day. And you can kind of,
Okay, I love it. So we have the option of doing the sex hormone only panel, which cuts our price down by a couple $100. What are the use cases that you would use for the adrenal panel? Because what I want to do is make sure that all of you guys who are leaning into the upfront conversation of like, okay, I want to talk about a specific symptom and I want to make a specific invitation for them to access something, and then I want to do the follow up and use that interpretation to open a dialogue that brings them fully into the functional medicine world and being able to resolve the challenges that they have, the symptoms that they're currently struggling with. So, what is a nagging symptom that would have you lean into
yep.
the adrenal panel? What
Kind
are
of
some of
anything
those?
that makes you believe there's an issue with the circadian rhythm. So, yeah, maybe they can't sleep.
Ah, okay.
Maybe they have insomnia. Maybe they
Okay.
can't fall asleep at night. Um, Also,
Okay.
stress. Maybe they're extremely stressed out. Um,
Oh my gosh. Yes. So all your
mhm.
executive women. And then obviously when we use stress, when we say stress, there's stress in our day-to-day life. And then there's that what when I consider like when I get concerned that practitioners need to pull the hormones into the conversation is when it goes beyond okay, well, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a business owner, I'm all these things, and I'm experiencing a lot of stress. That's one thing that people could consider quote unquote normal. But then there are some like experiences, some visceral experiences where I think practitioners could open the conversation. So let's go a little deeper than stress. And what do those things look like? So, in my experience, I would say, okay, well, they're stressed out, but they have the experience of, whoa, I go to the cupboard for some patience, I go to my cupboard for some tolerance, I go to my cupboard for some empathy for those around me, and that cupboard is bare. Like, that's when I worry that, like, okay, this is more than day-to-day life stress of living in 2025. This is something manifesting in the body in the realm of hormones that we need to look at. So are there things like that where, like, they don't have patience, or they're losing their mind on their kids, and they're experiencing mom guilt? Like, there real world scenarios where you feel we could support practitioners into something that they might want to lean into the adrenal panel for specifically? So circadian rhythm,
Yep.
totally get it.
Big.
Stress, that I think that example of, I go to the emotions I normally have, or the tools I normally have for dealing with those around me, and all of a sudden that cupboard is empty, there's nothing there. I feel like that's a good one for the adrenals. Is there anything else on the adrenal panel that you feel is a good top of funnel pain point conversation? It doesn't require a medical diagnosis, but the woman or the man could actually feel that in their own body, and we could have a social media conversation that would ignite their curiosity to getting the
Right.
adrenal
Well,
panel.
the sleep is a big one. A lot, like what I hear a lot is
Okay.
like, I just can't fall asleep like I used to. Or oh,
Okay. So it's the
mhm,
initial
mhm,
fall asleep
or
piece.
yeah, I wake up in the middle of the night and I can't fall asleep for 20 minutes, or I can't even fall
Okay. So
asleep
both.
after that, and I'm up at like
Okay.
3 a.m. I'm up and I'm ready, going for the day. Um,
Okay.
or what else do they say? Like alcohol affects me more than it used to. Social
Ah, okay. In terms of
in
your
terms of
sleep, or
sleep,
in
yeah,
terms of,
alcohol affects me more.
okay,
I can't
got
drink
it.
like I used to. I don't sleep that night. Like as women get older, you hear this a lot. Even social engagements or eating late meals, like it's affecting my sleep. And maybe they have a habit of eating late at night, and it
And it
used to be
used to be
fine.
fine, but
Yeah,
it's
and
not
like
anymore.
sometimes you hear
Love
a lot
it.
of like, "Oh,
Okay.
well, I'm so stressed throughout the day. I'm so busy that I can only do things. I can get everything done in the house between 8 and 9 or 8 and 10 p.m. or 9 and 11 p.m." And then you see their cortisol like at their bedtime sample before they go to bed, their cortisol's high because that's when they're the most active for the day.
Got it. Okay. And you guys have a cortisol test too, right? So is that's separate from
But
the adrenal
that is
panel? So
that
what
is the
would be
adrenal panel. I think
that's
yep.
on the adrenal panel? I don't know
Well,
why I thought
there
that
we
was
do
separate.
have okay,
Okay.
so the adrenal panel is all urine, and we're looking at the cortisol in the urine. Maybe you're thinking about we do have a car panel, which
Yes.
is the
Okay. That's the one that
cortisol
I'm thinking
awakening
of.
response panel. That's saliva. That's
Yep.
all saliva. So you're looking at I think it's 5 points throughout the day in the saliva, but what's unique to the car panel is you can see that rise between the waking when you wake up and the 30-minute mark, and that rise is your cortisol awakening response. So it tells you how you're able to respond to a stressor. If it's high, like mine, you over respond. If it's low,
Yep.
you might be burnt out, you
Okay.
under respond.
Okay, great. So then let's help them lean into how could they have that conversation and make that invitation. So that might be an invitation that looks a little bit like, something happens in my life, and it used to be a response of a 1 or a 2, and now something happens in my life, and that same exact scenario has me feel like a 9 or 10 on the
Yeah,
scale of upset. Would that be one possible social media conversation they could have that would logically lead to the
it
cortisol
could, yeah.
awakening,
Yeah, I
awake
feel like
response?
I
Okay.
overreact right
Okay.
now, or I'm jumpy, or I
Okay.
wake up and I
Okay.
have butterflies in my stomach every day, and or I wake up and I'm like ready to go, or like I wake up at 5 a.m. and I can't go back to sleep. Um, or even like symptoms
Okay,
in the
got
morning,
it.
like
Ooh,
I wake
okay.
up with headaches every morning. I wake up anxious every morning. those would be great things to do the car panel on.
Okay, awesome. So if the woman is having the feeling in her body, in her mind, in her experience right from the morning that she's already
Yes.
running from the dinosaur, if she's having those kind of stress responses,
Or the
that's a good one
opposite.
to lean
I
into the
can't
car.
get out of
Okay.
bed. I wake up and I'm brain fog. I have so much brain fog. I can't think. I have to have 2, 3 cups of coffee before I can talk to anyone.
Right from the morning, even though they just had a full
Yeah.
night's sleep.
And even if they're not getting a full night's sleep,
Okay.
if they're
Okay, awesome. So when do you make the decision? When would you make the decision to use the adrenal versus the car panel?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little biased. My favorite is the adrenal panel because with the adrenal panel, you
Okay.
not only see the diurnal panel or the diurnal curve of cortisol in the urine, but you also get the metabolized cortisol. And the metabolized cortisol tells you about total production of cortisol by those adrenal glands for the day. And it doesn't always match up with that diurnal pattern on the graph. And I can go into that more, but I think the adrenal panel, you don't get that car, you don't get the cortisol awakening response, but sometimes you don't really need the car to be able to start a great treatment plan. And I think by looking at the diurnal pattern and comparing it to the metabolized cortisol, you can almost get a little more information.
Okay, say more about that. I'm so like I know this is a little geeky for some of us, but say more about that because I feel like that's we're kind of splitting hairs, right? And I feel like we can kind of do that. Or like if we're gonna split hairs in hormone conversations, Dutch is the people to
I know.
split hairs with, right? So, so it's and none of us are supposed to have a favorite kid. I totally get that, and I'm sorry if this gets you stressed out within your teammates over there at Dutch, but I think we all have it, right? We all do. We all have our little favorites. So lean into that and say more about how you feel like you could get them on the path by using the adrenal. What like why is it your favorite? Why would you
Yeah,
lean
like
into
for
that one?
example, okay, so when you look at, so with the adrenal panel, remember it's all urine. For example, when you look at the
Yeah.
diurnal patterns of cortisol and cortisone, that's telling you about cortisol in circulation. Like it's giving, even though it's in urine, it's giving you an idea of your
Yeah.
active cortisol in your circulation, in your blood throughout the day. Um,
Yeah.
but the total amount of cortisol that you make can be different than what's in circulation. And one example is like, what if your patterns, your 2 patterns came back normal low? So like your cortisol in circulation is normal low throughout the day. And remember,
Okay. So there's no signs of active
yeah,
chronic
yeah, and
stress. Or it looks like, at least hormonally, it looks
or
like there's
maybe
no
there is
signs.
some signs because it's normal low. It's like starting to lower. So maybe this person's kind of moving more towards burnout. Maybe they're tired. It's hard for them to get out of bed.
Okay.
They're less motivated. They've got low libido. Um,
Yeah.
but what if their metabolized cortisol was above range? So, and I see this all the time. They're
Oh,
making a ton of cortisol, but they're not keeping it in circulation. And you see this associated a lot with people who are overweight, with insulin resistance, inflammation. It's kind of more or less metabolic syndrome type picture. So they're
yeah,
making plenty of
exactly.
cortisol, but cortisol loves to go where the inflammation is. And especially if they've got that like abdominal fat, that visceral adiposity that's inflammatory, that cortisol
Yeah.
can leave. Okay, so the adrenal, imagine this. The adrenals make a lot of cortisol, but that cortisol goes into the blood. It leaves the blood and goes where the inflammation is. So a lot of that cortisol ends up in the fat tissue. And so the fat tissue has a lot of cortisol, but the blood and the brain and the other tissues have a normal low amount of cortisol. So they're tired, it's hard for them to get
Got
moving. And in
it.
this case, it's like I probably wouldn't give them Cortef, like oral hydrocortisone. I wouldn't give them more cortisol. They're making plenty. This is when I start having that
Yeah, yeah.
conversation is, well, we need to keep more cortisol in circulation. So let's look at your inflammatory markers. Let's look at your
Mhm.
blood sugar markers. Let's work on weight loss if that's appropriate.
Yeah. Yeah, perfect. Okay, clear distinction there. Thank you so much. Okay, I want to save the rest of our time to go over your study around the
Oh
hair
yeah.
loss case. If we can get a little deep into that and have some fun with that, because I think that that is a huge selling point. So obviously, I sit at the fine line of we want top notch functional and precision medicine, but we also have to overcome the health practitioners conundrum, the marketing conundrum that they're in, which is they not only have to do a good job of marketing their services and why people need them and meet them what they're at, where they're at, but they also have to overcome something, most marketers and people trying to sell things don't have to overcome. And that thing is, well, all of my healthcare should just be covered by my insurance because I pay so much for my insurance. And then they drop into this old, like the conventional medical system, and they don't get the results that they want, specifically with chronic conditions or anything that the conventional medical world can just chalk up to, well, it's normal for your hormones decline as you're aging, or it's not. So they have a really difficult, they have it really is a double-edged sword. They have to deal with both challenges: marketing the functional medicine and precision, the uptick of why should they invest in them, and overcoming that. Okay. So whenever I see something like this study that we're going to dive into now, to me, that really does open the door for something that monetarily we can see hardcore proof that people are willing to pay cash out of pocket to solve this problem. Okay. So we see proof that people are willing to pay cash out of pocket for weight loss. We see that they're willing to pay to get their libido fixed up, right? Now, they might be, granted, you guys, I know that a lot of that money is going toward blue pills and ways that we wish they would not restore their libido, right? So in the functional, you don't send me hate mail emails about that. But I just want to point out anywhere that we find an area that people are coming cash out of pocket to get something back on track, whether that's energy, whether that's their weight, whether that's their skin, whether it's fertility. When we see indicators that people will pay cash out of pocket, aside from medical insurance, aside from conventional care, I do think that it is our responsibility as functional and precision medicine providers to open that conversation. Because if that, whether it's vanity based, you guys, like this hair loss thing, one could say, well, that's just vanity based. Okay. Whether it's vanity based because it's weight loss or hair or the way their skin looks, I don't care about that, because in my experience, that's the foot in the door. And if they get their foot in the door of what's possible by being like, in cahoots with a functional medicine practitioner that cares about them and that really wants to turn them on to all the powerful things they can do for their body. If we can get their foot in the door for something that's vanity based, then it opens up the whole world to living longer and having more energy and all of the things that they want and that we can give them from functional medicine. So if it feels a little bit like, I'm leaning into something that can feel quite superficial, like honestly, you guys, it's because I have seen firsthand that when people have a little taste of how they can feel with functional medicine, if they come to us because they want libido, if they come to us because they want hair loss or weight or hair growth or weight loss, welcome to the party is my answer to that. Like, welcome to the functional medicine party. Let's meet in the middle. Let's get them a small result that, sure, it might be vanity based, but we are a holistic body, right? Like if we help one system of the body, all the work we have to do to get their hair right or their weight loss to happen or their libido back, all of those things positively affect all those other symptoms of the body that we want to help them with in functional medicine. So I'll say sorry, not sorry for wanting to go down what some people might perceive as a really sort of vain rabbit hole. I think that this is a perfect place to open a conversation with an audience, and so many people want it. It affects their confidence if their hair is thinning or becoming lost. So let's
Yeah,
go.
no, I love that you
Let's get
said all
into
that
it.
because it's true. It's really a service to reel people in and then help them understand like just how good they can feel and how they can work on their
Yeah.
health now so that their, what do they call it? Not longevity, but their health span is improved.
Yeah, it is longevity, health span, just overall, like, I feel like they might come to us for this, like, so we're gonna go down the hair rabbit hole, but if they come to us to this and they're like, "Wow, just doing this level of investigation not only spurred my hair growth and it's shiny again, and it doesn't look like a haystack," right? As I'm soaking with my haystack hair. I live at the beach, so I'm in the ocean and the sun all the time, right? But if they come to us for that, and they notice all of the other differences. Their eyes are clearing, their brain fog is
Right?
gone. Like, yay, you guys, we won them over to our side. And we did it with an easy peasy way that it was so like, it was vanity based, but it ended up being something that transformed their life. Like, I'm
Yeah.
all in.
Yeah.
Count me in all day
Yeah.
long. I want
100%.
that. All right. So just cue us up for what this study was really about. Like, how did this come about? How were you guys involved? Like, what role did Dutch play? Just set the stage
Yes,
for us.
definitely. So, I mean, this is just a case study of a woman with hair loss who's 37 years old. And I mean, this is a typical case that we see all the time at Dutch.
Okay, do you want me to pull do you want screen? Let me see if I can get this on here for you. Okay, great. And then I'm going to make it nice and big, honey. And that should be pretty good. Okay, can you guys see that okay? I'm just going to check in chat. Okay. Oh, Jessica's here. Hi, Jessica. Oh, and Jessica's sharing with us. She's got lots of patients who complain of hair
Yes, it's
loss.
so common. It's so common. Um, this I mean,
Yeah,
so we could
exactly.
just go into this. This talks about a little bit about like what causes hair loss, and then on the Dutch test, what you can see in this case that could be contributing to her hair
Okay,
loss.
I
So
love it.
it's a good example also to learn a little bit more about the utility of the Dutch test and how it might be more useful than just like a serum test or even just a saliva test. Remember, saliva, you can't see the metabolites. It's just urine. Okay, so this woman, she's 37 years old and she's had hair loss for the past 4 years. She had irregular cycles. She suspected that she might have PCOS, but she was never diagnosed. Her BMI was normal. She wasn't overweight. And then she used an ovulation predictor kit to collect her samples. That basically like helped her understand when she was ovulating. And then we say collect for that Dutch Complete or Dutch Plus 5 to 7 days after ovulation because we want people to collect in their mid-luteal phase.
Oh, okay, so she was using, like, an over-the-counter ovulation to make sure that she was maximizing the
Yes.
efficacy of the test. Is that an
Yes,
accurate
yes, yes. And
assumption?
there's a
Okay, okay.
freezer trick. Like some people, like one thing about urine, which is really nice.
Wait. Okay, I'm gonna make you big
So
because
the freezer
freezer
freezer trick.
trick.
Here we go. Okay. With serum, you go in and you get your blood drawn. It's done. Like you did it. You're done. You hope that you timed it to your mid-luteal phase, and you hope that you get your period a week later, which means that you timed it perfectly. Um,
Yeah, and that way, you guys so she's just saying then we didn't waste the test, right? So she's trying to maximize the efficacy. We're always trying to maximize getting them to take the test
Yeah,
at the
because
right
yeah,
time.
like
Okay,
a lot of times
sorry.
you're testing estrogen and progesterone in their mid-luteal phase. Like you want to see if they ovulated, you want to see if they have progesterone, you want to look at the balance
Yeah.
between progesterone and estrogen. And so you do your best to time it, but sometimes it doesn't always work. With the Dutch test, what's nice is you can collect those urine samples and then dry them 100%. You can air dry them. You can use a blow dryer on low setting to dry them. Then stick them in a plastic baggie and put them in the freezer because they're good for like
Ah,
months
okay.
in the freezer. And then you just wait. You wait until you get your period. And the kits are free. So you could get multiple kits and you could take them a couple days apart, like collect a few different tests if you're motivated, freeze them all, and then wait
Mhm.
until you get your period. And if you get your period, we say about like 4 to 10 days after you collect your samples, then that's great. Then you might want to take those samples and mail them into the
And you
lab.
did
If
it.
not, you didn't lose any money. You can retest.
Yeah, I love it. Oh my god. Okay, that's good. So we can pull them right into the date lines that we want so we get the
Yes,
most
yes. So
accurate picture.
so she used an ovulation predictor kit to time her samples. Um,
Okay.
not on any medications, was taking vitamin D3, 10,000 IUs per day at the time, just, high dose. So did serum testing and found that her hemoglobin A1C was a little elevated. That's that pre-diabetic range. Low
Yep.
folate, low zinc, and those red blood cells. elevated CRP, so some higher inflammation, right? And then total testosterone and free testosterone in the serum were within range. They were normal, but she's losing her hair.
Okay.
Um, and then a lot of pertinent lab negatives, like nothing wrong with her CBC or her CMP or her thyroid or her ferritin. Okay, so
Okay.
we can go through this part really fast. Like, there's a lot of things that cause hair loss. You can look at up to date. You can probably chat GPT this these days, but high androgens is one of them. A lot of times I like to do the Dutch Complete or the Dutch Plus because you do also, besides the sex hormones, you get the adrenal portion, you get the cortisol portion.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just
Mhm.
see, like, you find that they have really high cortisol, and you're like, no wonder you're losing hair. Look how high your cortisol is. Like,
Yeah, you're
yeah,
stressed out. You're
like
literally
each
losing
little
your
hair
hair.
follicle has its own HPA axis. And if you get really stressed out and have high cortisol, that high cortisol locally in the hair can cause that hair to stop growing and fall out. The good news
Yeah,
is
yeah.
if your hair falls out from high cortisol, if you lower the cortisol, your hair will grow back. Um, but there's
Yes.
a lot of things that cause hair loss, even medications and certain chemicals and shampoos, and even just pulling on the hair or braiding it too tightly, or messing with it too much, basically. Okay, so with the Dutch test, it's nice. We have these things called mini guides, and these are in the Dutch provider portal. So these are for the Dutch providers. But we have a whole mini guide on hair loss. We also have endometriosis, infertility, weight loss, inflammation. We've got a lot of them. And what I like about it is they have a little Dutch checklist. So it tells you like what patterns we typically see on the Dutch test in women who have hair loss. So it can kind of also help guide your conversation. So if you look at their Dutch test and you compare it to the Dutch checklist, and then you check off all the ones that pertain to this patient, and then it gives you a few things to talk about with the patient, like reasons why they might be losing their hair. This is a yeah, what we
And
can
what we
do
can do
about
about
it. This is a more blown up version of that checklist, but like where's high court?
it. We're still seeing the like Dutch case study hair loss in 37-year-old
We
cycling.
we
Is that what
are
you're seeing? Or are you wanting
no
us to
no
see something different?
Oh,
Okay, I'm just
oh,
making sure.
oh, you are. No,
Okay.
I want you to see something different. I must be showing a different screen.
Okay. So yeah, you're showing where we're showing the highlight. You're showing us the highlighted one, like the presenter version. So we can see the slides on the left and we can see the other ones. And you have the highlighted slide that you're showing is just the 37-year-old
Hmm.
hair loss one. So you can keep sharing that screen unless you want to
I
share a
want to share
different
a different
screen.
screen. Can you see this?
So if you have a Okay, let's share a different one. Yeah, let me add this one. Okay, there we go. Now
I'm
we can
so
see.
sorry,
Okay,
guys.
good, good, good. We were just seeing the opening slide. No worries, no worries. We're following you. So I
Okay,
just
so
want to make
here's
sure
the
we
hair. Sorry, we have a lot of mini guides. This is the hair loss one, but we have a lot of other ones. These are in the
Okay,
provider
great, great,
portal.
great.
So these are for this is for
Okay,
provider, like
great.
Dutch, like people who are registered with Dutch get access to the mini guide.
Okay, and you guys, I'm gonna put that on screen again. I know you can't read the writing on that without it, but I do want to put this is the link that Kelley is providing for you guys to connect with Dutch. So these are available for practice. I feel like I've gotten a good tour of the back end of that, and they can score that themselves, right?
Yes. Yes, so they can like print this out, and then when you
Perfect.
check all these off, it gives you some ideas of why they might be losing their hair. Um,
Okay, and I'm gonna shrink this QR code, you guys, so you can see her screen bigger, but I'll put it back up before we're done. Okay, so I'm gonna hide it now just so the screen is
and
bigger.
then just
Okay, go ahead,
quickly,
Kelley.
we do have a 170 page Dutch interpretation guide that really goes into like the basics of hormones, but also like how to interpret the Dutch test. I always tell people like don't read it front to
Yes.
back. It's overwhelming. Just use it as a resource. So if you get the test back and they have high
Yeah,
testosterone, you
exactly.
can go to page, I think it's 55, and learn about all the signs and symptoms of high
Yeah.
testosterone and all the things that might be contributing to that high testosterone.
So really quick, Kelley, there's people asking like, how can we access this checklist? I'm just putting this on the screen, and you guys can get that in the portal. So once you sign up, once you have it's not even like necessarily an account to order direct, is it, Kelley? This is just for the
Yeah, I mean,
information.
if you sign up, you have
Yeah.
to be able to order tests, to sign up with Dutch, but you don't necessarily
Yep.
even have to order a
Yep.
test. You could just sign up with Dutch and gain
Okay.
access to more education. And I know, there's a lot of education just on the website, like public education that
Yeah,
everyone can
exactly.
access. We have
Yeah.
great podcast with a lot of information there.
Yeah, exactly. And then before I have you carry on, there was a question about if you guys are opening your education to non-licensed practitioners. And I think this probably stems from the fact that the Dutch is available through things like Avexia and Rupa. And so that is opening those things up to, health coaches and nutritionists and dietitians, some that might not have access. So, Kimberly, if there are specific things that you need to know, let me know, because I'm pretty familiar with the battery of supportive information that's available on Avexia and on Rupa's free trainings and on Dutch's free training. So I'm happy to connect you with my favorites if you let me know, like, what is it that what specifically are you trying to gain access to? And also, I can reach out to Kelley directly too. So we're connected. So let me also make sure that you have I think you and I recognize that you DMing you on Instagram. So if you have specific questions or having trouble accessing those checklists, please just DM me on Instagram and let me know. Okay. This is saying DM me the offer letter upgrade. That's just because I want you injecting Dutch testing wherever it makes sense in your offer ladder, from free content all the way up to your exclusive packages. But you could just DM me and let me know that you're trying to access that checklist, and I'll do my best to help you out.
Hmm.
Okay. All right, let me hide this and then make you full
Yeah.
screen.
Yeah.
There we
So
go. Now we can see.
a lot of
Now
people who
we can carry
order
on.
through Avexia will also have will register directly with Dutch to get the education. So they might still order through Avexia, but then they might still have that be registered directly with Dutch to have that provider portal and to get that education.
Yeah. I recommend that, you guys. Their provider portal. I only got a tour through it, and of course, because I'm on the marketing side, I'm not a licensed professional. I'm sure you guys could. I'm sure there are certain things in there that are limited to practitioners, but that particular checklist, I feel like you guys have gone over that. If not with Avexia,
Oh, you
somewhere
have?
else. I've seen
Yeah.
this. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So with this is a Dutch complete. It's all urine. And the summary page can give you a lot of information. I think last time we were in the Labs to Lead Summit, we were talking about how sometimes you could just show them the summary page. Like when you go over the results with the
yeah,
patient, you could
exactly.
just show them the summary page. So, um, and of course, like you've got to do some education on your part on Dutch before you're able to explain these markers. But we do have a really great
Mhm.
consulting team. So you can schedule a call with one of the clinical educators like myself at Dutch. We even have same day consults where you can call in the same day and get on the list, and we'll call you back. And we can explain this entire test, like what it means, what the results mean, how to interpret it. And I sometimes have providers tell me like, okay, how would you explain this to a patient? And I'm
Yeah,
happy to go over that too. So there's a lot of support on the Dutch
yeah.
side with the clinical educators to like help you feel prepared for that visit.
Yeah, you guys, I think that that is a worthwhile thing to do. I think I might have my camera off. Hold on. I think it's a worthwhile thing for you guys to do, just to open your world up to, oh, maybe there's ways that they would explain it that you hadn't thought of explaining it before. And because they're so steeped in these tests and how to convey them and how to get the maximum out of them for the end user, the person who purchased the test themselves, I think it's a good idea for you to do that at least one time to really lean into everything that's possible, because I think that we might be leaving a little
Yep.
bit on the table. And since you guys offer that, I
Oh,
don't know
yeah,
why
and
you
once you
wouldn't,
do it
you know?
once, I mean, you're gonna do it more times because
Yeah.
it's such a helpful
Exactly.
service.
Exactly.
Um, okay, so
Yeah,
this is the
exactly.
summary page, and here we can see that estradiol is within range, but what I like to point out is in between the two stars is that luteal range. So this is where a cycling woman should land. And that little purple band is the postmenopausal range. So she's 37, she's still cycling. I would not expect her to be in the little purple band. I'd expect her to be in that green range, right? Um, okay, so the estradiol, her estrogen is within range. Her progesterone is within range. It looks like she ovulated. But what I'm more interested in, like what I would focus on with my meeting with the patient, I would say, okay,
Uh-huh.
look at this. Your testosterone is within range, just like your serum. Your serum showed that your testosterone was within range. But look at this marker,
Mhm.
and they're not going to know what this is. 5-alpha androstenedione. Most people don't know what this is.
Yeah, yeah,
But you can say,
yeah.
this tells us like how active these androgens are in our body. And remember, the androgens, if they're too active, can cause acne or hair loss. And so, this one is really high. Look how high this is. It's above range. This could be the
Yeah,
reason.
exactly. She's redlining.
Yeah,
She's
this could be the
redlining.
reason why you're losing your hair. So let's talk more about this marker and
Yeah,
how we can decrease it. Um,
yeah.
and then of course you can also show and look at this cortisol. This is your cortisol throughout the day and your in circulation in your body. See how high it's getting right here? It's getting above
Mhm.
this shaded region, which is where we want you to be. And then look at these
Mhm.
dials. See how the dials are red and they're high? This means that you've just got a lot of
Minimum, yeah.
cortisol, and we know that high cortisol can cause hair loss. So let's also talk about how we can lower your cortisol, and that could support um, or help you stop losing your hair. And I always really like to be really positive about the test findings. Like I think it's really helpful to be like, gosh, I'm so happy we did this test. Like, look at all this information we got.
Yeah, 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 as opposed to making them wrong and telling them to chill out
Yeah.
or, whatever. Here,
Yeah.
I'll get
Yeah,
mine.
I'm always, like, really excited. I don't know, I'm generally excited about Dutch test results in general, but
Yeah,
they'll be
obviously,
like,
we
"Oh my
geek
god,"
out.
like, when
Yeah,
I'm
I got
doing,
it.
consults with the provider, they'll be like, "Oh, I'm so happy that you ordered this, like, what a service you're doing for this patient. I mean, look at all these things you could do to
Yeah.
help her." Um,
Yes, exactly. And then what are your typical things that you're leaning into for like when you show them, okay, you're redlining on the cortisol and you're certainly redlining on the way that your androgens are being metabolized. You're redlining on your cortisol. Other than the thing that every woman hates to hear, which is stop stressing out, relax or whatever, which feels impossible this day and age. What are the type of things that you personally
mhm.
are leaning into? So what are the things you lean into other than de-stressing, like central nervous meditation, relaxing, trying to respond instead of react, all the typical things that they're hearing? What are the things that you're doing to pull down cholesterol
Yeah,
typically
with
when you
with
see that?
the with the high cortisol, I mean, it really depends on what is causing it to be high. Sometimes their blood sugar is
Yeah.
dysregulated, sometimes they have high inflammation, sometimes they're over-exercising. Um, so it's not all necessarily stress. But if I do think it is stress, I
Yeah.
kinda meet them I try to meet them where they're at. So I try to understand, like, what are they already
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah.
And sometimes just
Yeah.
adding
Yeah.
on an adaptogen, like a calming adaptogen, like ashwagandha can be super
Yeah. Yeah.
helpful,
Okay.
and I think it's helpful to also, like, tell them what
Yeah.
the herb does so that they know, like, when they take it, they're like, "Oh,
Yeah,
this is a really
exactly.
calming herb. This is gonna help me
Yes,
sleep."
and this is an
Yeah, and tie it
immunomodulator or
back to their
whatever. Okay,
symptoms.
yeah,
"This is
that
gonna
makes
help
sense.
me not feel
Yeah,
dizzy all day
yeah,
because 'cause I'm so stressed out. This is gonna help me,"
yeah, yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah,
so sometimes it's a supplement that I add on, sometimes it's kinda dependent on what they're already doing and what they're willing to do and where their interests are. Like, some
yeah, I
people
got
are
it.
really into
Yeah,
yoga and exercise for stress reduction, whereas other people are more into, like, sauna or meditation or some people just
yeah,
wanna
okay.
supplement. And
Yep, okay,
and
got
supplements,
it.
they can make a huge difference.
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
some
for sure, for sure.
phosphatidylcholine or not phosphatidylcholine, phosphatidylserine to help lower cortisol can be super helpful. Ashwagandha, I've seen L-theanine and GABA work really well. Valerian, passion flower, like there's so many great ones out there.
Yep,
And then you can start small.
I love it.
Start small. Just give them,
Yeah, so
yeah,
they don't feel
exactly.
overwhelmed. Yeah,
I
you
think
don't wanna
that's because
overwhelm
I
them.
I made that
Yeah,
mistake in the
exactly.
past.
Okay,
I'd be
got
like,
it.
"All right, let's do," and then, of course, like, the patient when they meet with you, sometimes they just want you to like them, or maybe they wanna wrap it up, and they're just like, "Yes, yes, yes, I'll do," yeah, like, they agree. They don't have an honest conversation with you, and you're like, "Okay, so you're gonna
Yeah,
meditate 3 times a week, and then you're gonna take this supplement, and then you're gonna go on a walk 5 times a week," and it's not realistic for them. So, meeting them where they are, trying to, like, really ask them a lot of questions to understand, like, "Well, what are you willing to
yeah,
do? What are
yeah.
your interests?" That's going to be most helpful, I think.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. All right. So we're seeing them. And then let's pull
yeah,
this back to her hair loss.
yeah.
How
And
did this
so a
go
lot
down?
of times you could just show them this summary page, and that's it, and then create a treatment plan based off of them. Like, there's more information here with the sex hormones. Um, and if you want, I mean, you don't have to really get into the estrogen metabolism. Like, for me, this all looks pretty good. So I probably would skip the estrogen metabolism with her, and I would really focus in. Like, I probably wouldn't even go to this page, honestly, because patients are going to see this page and be overwhelmed. So a lot of times I'm looking at, what are the abnormals? Like, what do I need to focus on? Let's try not to make this confusing or overwhelming for the patient. Let's keep it really simple. So a lot of times I wouldn't even go to this page, but if you did, you could show them like this little marker here. This is a 5-alpha reductase activity. You could say you're at 91%. That means you're activating your testosterone more than 91% of the population. So you're really activating that testosterone.
Pushing
Um,
it. Yeah. Yeah.
and then when we go over down to cortisol, I wouldn't even go,
And certainly if they were on bioidentical hormones and they're on a topical testosterone, we're pulling that back
oh yeah,
in that case. If we know that what they're using, they're redlining, then they
yes,
could pull it
that
back.
is such a good covers. I was just thinking, okay, I was just reading an article on this morning. Like a blog that we're going to publish soon, but it's all about that concept. Like, sometimes when you replace testosterone, and in women, the goal is to get total testosterone within that physiological range for a premenopausal woman. But some people, like
Yeah.
some women, start having symptoms of excess androgens. Like, they lose their hair. The most common is they start getting acne, might affect their
Yeah, like
mood,
or little chin hair, more
chin
chin
hairs.
hairs or
Yeah,
more yeah.
and you're like,
Yeah,
"Oh, I
all
don't
the little
understand. Their total testosterone is within the physiologic range." But then it's like, "Oh," but then you look at how they're metabolizing their testosterone and, "Oh, okay, they're really activating it. No wonder.
yeah,
Yeah, maybe we should lower that dose."
yeah, yeah, so to
Yeah.
pull it back a little, pull
And
it
that's
back.
gonna be more, that's just in my mind, that's practicing better medicine, because 'cause you're getting more personalized, like, to that specific patient and how that patient's body
Yeah,
breaks down that testosterone they're taking. Um
yeah, exactly, exactly. Okay, let me
Yeah,
make this
but, like,
bigger for
even
them.
page 5,
And
this goes into a little more information about the cortisol. I probably wouldn't even go to this page with the patient, because
not it's certainly not in the prospect. So you guys, let's just kind of pull that back in a little bit. So certainly this is something that let me keep this one on. So certainly when she's saying like I wouldn't go to this page, okay? Certainly if you're in the lab test funnel vein where you've decided, oh, I'm gonna lead with a hair thinning, hair loss, dull hair conversation, and you're gonna pull them in and you're using this test. The things that she's saying, oh, I probably wouldn't even get to that page, that's something that we would not get to until we're in, that private client package for 3 months, or where if they're coming into a group program setting, it's probably something we wouldn't be hitting until session, 4, 5, 6, much, much later in the
yes.
conversation. Okay. So, which is honestly what I love about the Dutch test is like you can have a top line conversation and you can keep the results from the same initial test that they purchased and you can just go deeper into the same initial test result that they ordered once they're in cahoots with you and you have your clear medical arrangement of is this person a patient, are they a coaching client online exclusively for consulting, or are they in your online program. You can take one test and have a lighter conversation on the client acquisition phase, and then you can go way deep, you can circle back to the same test and go way deeper and get into more protocols based on what you're seeing further in the test. I
Yeah,
personally really like that because you got them in the door with one thing and you're getting all of the juice out of that one squeeze. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I really
yeah,
like that.
exactly. Like, you could just start with this page and be like, "Where this is, like, a lot of information here," and you can say, like, women who tend to activate more of their testosterone, you tend to see that when they're overweight, when they're inflamed, they've got blood sugar dysregulation, when they're stressed out. We can see some high cortisol here. And so you can give them a little bit of information so that they understand enough to be like, okay, I understand why my hair might be falling out. And then you can also give a little bit of
Yep.
information, like, of where you might go, like the next steps, right? Like, so we might look at your blood sugar markers. We might look at some inflammatory markers. We might talk more about, focus in on what could be causing your cortisol to be high because it's more than just stress. And then like
Yeah.
go from there. And let me just scroll down here. So, we have a bunch of organic acids too that we measure, which is kind of, in my eyes, like a little extra little bonus on the Dutch test. And for example, her biotin was elevated, which means, her biotin marker was elevated, which means her biotin can be deficient. And we know when we're deficient in biotin, it affects our skin, hair, and nails. So another
Got
thing
it.
that you could work on. And so this is just like using the checklist to show which ones came up positive for her, which ones you could really focus on for her to help her get her hair back.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, got it.
and so what are the things that could be causing her hair to be falling out? High androgens, like she's activating her androgens, high stress, possibly high inflammation. Oh, that's right. Her CRP was high, right? So high inflammation.
Yep.
Prediabetes, she came up with a hemoglobin A1C of 5.8, maybe some nutrient
Yep.
deficiencies and high cortisol. Like this is a lot of things that could be.
A lot of things, but you guys, like that pre-diabetes thing, like if previous to this, previous to knowing her hair was tied into that, maybe she was packing on a little mince in her weight gain. But if the hair is the thing that tips her over, like that's the final thing on her teeter-totter that says, oh no, like it's okay, I put up with a little bit of pudge, but I'm not pulling
Right?
up with my practical like thinning hair. That might be the thing that makes her
Yeah.
make the switch to cutting the sugar, which is also going to be the domino that tips over the inflammation getting better, right? So like you can see where if we can motivate, like if any of these one things is helping to motivate this patient, like they're going to get on the healthy bandwagon for this one thing that was the vanity play that pulled them into the world of getting
Right. And they're
better.
going to
You
feel
know what
so
I mean?
good that they're going to tell their husband and they're going to tell their kids and they're going to tell all their girlfriends that they need to come to you.
Exactly. And then it starts spreading out in the world. So that's why I have no issue with like the vanity-based health motivators because they pull them into the world. And then before you know it, they lost 20 pounds. And like she's saying, well, if she was cooking healthy, the husband's eating healthy and the
I
kids are
know that
eating
can make
healthy.
such
You know what I
a
mean? All right.
positive
I'll make
impact
this big.
on the world. So,
I know.
um,
Exactly. It's like
yeah, so
rippling
like
out.
focusing on things that little lower cortisol, help with insulin sensitivity, anti-inflammatory, anti-androgen. And we're going to come out, I think I can say this. I think we're supposed to publish this week. Maybe they'll do it next week. We're coming out with a Dutch
Okay.
treatment guide, which is going to
Oh, I
go into
love.
herbs and nutrients and lifestyle factors.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited, you guys, because one of the things that I'm loving right now is when you guys can take the lab test funnel. The hair mineral analysis test is a good example of this just because it's very clear, right? So someone takes their hair mineral analysis test, they see which minerals are low, they're offered a custom mineral blend that is making up for where they're deficient, and that back end sale is very easy whether or not they move forward with the one-on-one package or the group program. And so I love that you guys are bringing this forward because then that opens up the follow-up conversation where the practitioners can say, hey, I saw that you took this test. Here's some things for you to consider, which means more back-end sales, which motivates you guys to do your marketing more, which is what I really want for you. So I love that this is coming out. When is that happening?
Well, I think very, very soon. I mean, I was told this week, but maybe it's going to be next week, but it's going to be very, very
Okay,
soon.
okay.
I'm
We're leaking it here, you
yeah, I don't think
guys.
anyone else knows. So, but I am super excited. I put a
Okay.
lot of effort and energy into it, and it's just it's a good guide to really know like what the next steps are when it comes to treatment. And it really kind of
Yeah.
helps educate people on different herbs and like I mean like here, like anti-androgen, these are all anti-androgen herbs, but a lot of people don't know about them.
Yeah, they don't even lean into them. And then but then it would make sense to them too, even the choices. So maybe you pull, there's lots of different supplement lines that make high quality things for hair growth, skin, nail growth, that kind of thing. And then it would logically make sense to them if they never got the formal training on, oh, now I see why I'm seeing the nettle root in these supplements that I had previously recommended. So I think whether they follow them to the T or whether they use these things that you're sharing sharing as validation for the supplements that their mentors may have taught them to change. I love that you guys are being transparent about what you would suggest on the herbal side, it's so
Yeah, yeah,
good.
and yeah, and we kept it, like, general enough, so we're not giving treatment advice, but, like, for example, there's a whole section
Yeah, yeah.
on what to do if someone has high inflammation. When it comes to their diet, when it comes to their
Okay.
lifestyle, when it comes to supplements, like, so it's pretty comprehensive. So for her, I might go to
Yeah.
the high inflammation section, and then I might go to the,
Yep.
high or insulin resistant section and get some ideas there. And a lot of them you'll notice will overlap,
Yep.
right? And then I'm
Yeah.
going to go to
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Of
section
course.
of a cycling woman with high androgens, like, oh, cycling woman with high testosterone. Okay, what can I work on with her? And so I think it's going to be
Yeah.
really helpful. I hope it is.
Yeah, and then something like that, they can turn it into a game, like gamify it. Like, okay, we're gonna pick one thing from the high androgen section, we're gonna pick one thing from the inflammation session, and that's what we're gonna add in this week. And like have them be ready to come the next call with you and go, okay, well, on the game board, where do we see we could move the needle with the next implementation of an herb or a lifestyle choice? And that way we're not drowning them in choices, but we gamify the process of them moving towards the
Right,
result that
yeah,
they want.
it helps put together that
Love that.
treatment plan for
I
so
love
for example, this like
Love
anti-androgen
it.
therapy with the saw palmetto, the stinging nettle, and the pygeum. So these are all 5-alpha blockers. They block 5-alpha reductase. So they
Mhm.
block that enzyme that like activates the testosterone.
Great, so it's gonna pull us out of the
Yep.
red on that one dial where she was maximizing, right? And we're gonna pull her
Yeah,
back
pull her.
into
So
range. I
if
love
this
it.
goes back into range, that means she probably won't lose her hair unless she's still stressed out.
Yes.
But for example, phosphatidylserine and L-theanine for 3 months can help bring that cortisol.
Okay, great, and was this her result? Is this showing literally hers, the
No,
gal
this
who
was
got
just
her
an
hair back
example, a different
in this case
example.
study?
Yeah, but
Okay,
I
all
actually
right.
don't have a follow-up
Okay.
test for her, but this is a different example.
Okay, I
I
would
know,
love
me
to see
too, me
that, I
too.
would love to see that.
I wanna see that. Um,
Like, I wanna see.
but, like,
Yeah.
on a personal note, I would say for stress reduction and for calming effects, what I have found in practice is it can take 5 different supplements or 5 different herbs or different, combinations of things for someone to really find something that works
Yeah.
for them. And, like, on a personal note, like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, I feel like I've tried a bunch of different things, and I just found something that works so well for me. So, like, supplements can make a
Are you gonna
big
tell us?
difference. Yeah, well, yeah. I mean,
Is it a
everyone
secret?
knows
Are you
this
gonna tell us?
supplement. The supplement I'm using right now is Cortisol Manager by Integrative Therapeutics.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
for
Okay,
me,
okay.
it's made a huge difference. I was surprised because I've actually tried it in the past and it didn't really do much, but for some reason now it works. So keep that in mind too. If someone's tried
Yeah.
something in the past, it might work
Yeah,
later.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, supplement,
Yeah.
even just adding on a supplement without even
Awesome.
changing anything else can be very life-changing for people.
Yeah, it
Um,
can be
yeah.
helpful. Okay, so let's land the plane on this case study. Is there anything else we need to know on this one? What was her result? Did
This
she
one,
turn it
I don't
around?
have any follow-up for her, but we just wanted her to return for like look, after we put together a plan, we're going to retest her sugars, we're going to retest that CRP, and then we'll probably do a follow-up Dutch
Yep.
test. For cycling women, I say wait at least 3 months, but 6 to 12
Okay.
months or maybe never. Like maybe she's doing really well and she finds that happy place and she's like feeling really good and so excited and you might not ever do another Dutch test on her.
Okay. And you guys, I find like that's something that we should kind of mention here is that when they get the results, it's normal that they don't want to bother with the follow up, right? It's just like, well, I got the result that I wanted, so I don't really care about like measuring my stats. So, us, the people who are like hungry for the numeric validation on the test that, oh, we did our job. You know what I mean? Like sometimes we can have that wah, wah, wah moment of, oh, they didn't want to circle back and retest and see all their success. And then we personally don't get to see
I know,
it. You know
yeah.
what I mean? But I would say that's pretty much across the board normal. Like if she has a full head of hair and it's shiny and she's happy, then of course
Yeah.
she's
Yeah,
probably just want
right,
to throw
right,
down
and
for the
if
test
you
result.
just end up,
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
monitoring
Yeah.
her blood sugars, in the blood and the serum and her inflammatory markers, and you go from there and you just,
Yeah.
like, take over with serum testing, like, that's great. She's going in a great direction. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. She's headed in the right direction. Okay, great. So there was a follow-up question. They didn't quite get the supplement, but then someone in the chat was answering back. So I do think that that
Yeah,
was right. The cortisol manager by
that's the one that
Integrative
works for
Therapeutics. That was
me.
great.
Yeah, I'm not telling anyone to use
Yeah,
it. Yeah,
not for
exactly.
everybody. Yeah, exactly. I totally get it. Okay. And then Jessica's asking with what your I'm just gonna take this one off
Nope,
screen. Do you need
nope. You
anything
can take
on
it off.
screen here? And then we'll just take a couple questions. No, okay. Okay, so we'll remove this one and we'll get us on here. Okay, great. So there's a couple of questions. If the it's a supplement guide, like online or interactive, in you guys portal, you have a lot of really helpful
Yeah,
guides. I think it's worth
yeah.
mentioning here that like you guys have a lot of really helpful guides. Like from the one that helps you break down the Dutch test is a monster, you guys. Like until it's your second nature to interpret it, I definitely would take advantage of their calls and just have that experience. I mean, I think you guys are going to feel like very red carpet and very spoiled. And certainly you're going to feel like you have a
Yes.
safety trampoline. Right. So if there's one that you get back and you're like, whoa, wait a second, like, I don't even know where to begin with this one, knowing that you just have that, like, yeah, they're going to roll out the red carpet. They're going to make sure you unwind this. And in them helping you unwind something that is a little intimidating or you've never seen before, you're going to learn so much from the people who are directly associated with this test and have done all the research to show why each of their individual tests is so uniquely powerful. But then from that information, I guarantee you will pick up golden nuggets that will not just help you with that patient, but
Yeah.
with everybody else. So let me put on screen. Is that one already in the
The treatment
portal,
guide?
honey, or
No.
no?
They have not released it yet, but they're
Yeah.
gonna release it
Okay.
really soon. But yeah, that's gonna be in the Dutch provider portal. So you have to be a registered provider to get access to that.
Okay.
But I always say, like, I think the main
Okay.
two documents that people should have is the Dutch interpretive guide, which we already have access to
Okay.
in the provider portal. And then when the treatment guide comes out, which it'll
Yep.
be soon, those two
Yep.
together are going to be so
Okay.
helpful. And then the mini guides are nice if you want to learn more
Yeah.
about hair loss or endometriosis or PCOS.
Yeah, yeah. So for the hair loss one, like for the conversation we were having today, that one is
Yep,
already in the
yep.
portal. Is
There's like
that one is already in
20
the
of
portal? I
those
believe.
in the
Yeah. Okay,
portal
great.
on different topics. And
Yeah.
then I always tell
Yeah.
people, so use the Dutch interpretive guide to like learn a little bit more about hormones, like what might be causing that high
Okay.
testosterone, a little, what are the symptoms of
Yeah,
high
yeah.
testosterone? What are other symptoms you might ask her about? Like, oh, do you also have acne or how's your mood?
Yes.
Um, but then
Yeah,
call in
exactly.
to speak with one of us to really kind of put the whole picture together. And I think some people feel bad, like they're bothering us. Like I have a lot of people be like, oh,
Mhm.
I'm really trying to learn it. I'm not going to call back very often. And I'm like, no, no, please call back. Like we're
Yeah,
so happy
yeah.
to talk
Yeah,
with you.
exactly.
And I even have experienced people call in because, um, I mean, I've been looking at these Dutch tests for 6 years full time, and I've looked
Yeah.
at thousands and thousands and I don't know, tens of thousands, maybe 100,000 Dutch tests. And so it's not that I'm smart, I've just learned the patterns and I've learned all the things associated with high
Yeah.
testosterone or low testosterone or activating more testosterone. And so when you talk to
Yeah.
me, I can help like paint that picture of your patient's symptoms and how they're being reflected into the test and things that you might want to
Yeah.
consider. Like, and a lot of experienced providers say, yeah, I call in because I I just there you think of things I didn't think of.
Yeah, exactly. You're just getting outside perspective. And here's the thing, you guys, no matter who our mentors were, no matter maybe you came from School of Applied Functional Medicine over with Tracy, or maybe you're an IFM person or whatever, like we all have different mentors and they taught us what their mentors taught them, plus whatever experience that they had. And so I feel like whenever we have a collaborative outreach, certainly with the brand behind the test and the people who have read, tens, if not hundreds of thousands of them, you guys, were just expanding, meaning that means now if I reach out to Kelley, her mentors that fed her brain and made her as smart as she is are now a part of my whole world of information. So I don't think you can go wrong leaning into touch and at least going through the process of having them talk you through one of them, at least one, okay? Because it just integrates all of our mentors into our shared reality. I think it's totally worth doing. So really quick, Kelley, because we have such a mixed audience. So in Heal It Scale, we have our MDs, our PhDs with like alphabet soup all behind their name. That's just crazy. Okay. And then we also have people who are health coaches. Maybe they're FDN grads, IIN grads. And sometimes they can feel a little intimidated about being welcome into the world. So could you clarify, like, who is welcome to come into and sign up for and get a practitioner portal over with Dutch and have access to these info? So if they can't, great, then we can find other ways to support them. And if they can, they know and they go and they grab it. I don't want there to be any ambiguity, and no shame if there's certain licensed professionals aren't down. This is not about putting you in the hot seat in that regard. It's about me going to the extra links to find anyone who doesn't have direct access to those handouts, to how best can we support them through trainings that you've done on Evexia or Rupa or on the internet. I will do my best to get you guys the support that you need if you don't have a particular access to them. So just feel everybody in who is a coach or nutritionist or on the MDNC or MD or ND side, like who is welcome into the practitioner portal over at Dutch.
Basically anyone who is able to register and get an account with Dutch, and it's mostly people who are able or have the right to order testing in their state, basically.
Okay,
so
perfect.
I do talk to a lot of dietitians. I talk to health coaches. I mean, I talk to a wide array, of different people with different credentials. Yeah,
Okay.
it's just, I think just we're, as far as consults go, we can't consult with FDNs
Yeah.
because FDNs have like their own group that they consult with. But besides, yeah, so I would
Yes.
say
Okay.
like always just try. Like some people don't think that
Yeah.
they qualify for a Dutch account, but they do. And so I always say just always try to
Yeah.
get an
Yeah.
account. And then I have times where some people, like you would think they would qualify, but it's very rare. But I did have like a pharmacist in Canada
Yeah.
who couldn't get an account with us for some reason. But anyways, I always just say like always try, because we do have additional information in that provider portal, and it can be really helpful. Even the Dutch courses, like we just released that perimenopause management course.
Yeah.
We've got the introduction to HRT
Yep.
course, functional medicine hormone testing course. And
Yep.
so there's a lot of free courses that can be helpful.
Yeah, exactly. I would say you guys have access to the majority of everything that you need. Their free courses are amazing. Definitely dive in and take advantage of those. You heard it here first. There's going to be some treatment guides available coming to you down the pike too. So I personally cannot wait to see those. When they come out, I'll do a follow-up email. So if you're not already on my email list and you don't like getting emails, just DM me. And as soon as I get wind of it, I'll make sure to post and give a link to what when Dutch announces it. So when that blog post comes out announcing it, Kelley, if you'll drop me an email when it goes live, I'll make sure to spread the word on Instagram and in our emails, so all the practitioners possible, we can reach them and let
The
them know that you
treatment
guys
guide.
have
Well,
that out.
Tiffany said it's already in the portal, so maybe I'm behind.
Is it in there?
Maybe
Oh, okay,
they
great.
said it would come out
Okay,
this week, so
perfect.
maybe it's there already. I have to check. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, that's great. Tiffany, is she saying like, oh, it's already there? Let me see. We'll pull her comment on there. Yes, it's in there. Okay, great. That's awesome. All right, you guys. Well, thank you,
Yeah, I
Tiffany,
know.
for letting us
Thank
know.
you
Okay, it's
for letting
already
me
in
know,
there. So now
Tiffany.
you can just go find it. Yeah, exactly. And I will put the QR code to get to Dutch so you guys can connect with them. Okay. And just make sure that, you have as much access as you possibly can. If any of you are in the category of, like our FDN grads, if you're in a health coaching predicament or nutritionist or dietitian predicament and you don't have access to things, like please do DM me and let me know specifically what you're looking for, because Dutch is very generous. Obviously, they're here with us today, but like, they're very generous about providing really helpful information for Arupa, for Evexia, for this community, for tons of communities. So just because if you are in that narrow lane of people who don't have access to getting into the portal, chances are we can at least find some of their forward-facing free trainings that would support you in one way, shape, or another. But I would say the vast majority of the people watching this have access to get an account over there, and you might as well do that. Okay. If you are looking to go the route of like leading with upfront labs, and you wanted to use like that example that we talked about early on, how Kelley was saying, yeah, I might just start with serum because that would kind of shake them up and see, oh, okay, there is something going with my hormones. And that might be enough to motivate them to do the specific specific Dutch test that they need, whether that's the complete or the adrenal or the car, any of the things that we've talked about. And they have others, you guys. We didn't even get into everything that they have. I think we missed a couple, right? Like, so, so if you wanted to go that route, then make sure that you have an account set up with Avexia that empowers you to order through the signing physician network. Because remember, and if you haven't seen my conversation with Lisa Frawley on the legality of these things that we did in the summit, we always have to keep that brick wall. Prospects are not yet our patients. They're not even coaching clients. They're not program participants. We have no ticked off agreement at a sales page even. We don't even have that, okay? So make sure that you set up an account with Avexia. This waives the $250 setup fee because they're so down for people to give people more access to testing. So this waives that fee, and you can just set up an account that is through a signing physician, and then you're protected, okay? So it doesn't look like you're prescribing, treating, diagnosing these tests. You're just saying this test is available through a signing physician. Go ahead and score that for yourself. And then you can automate and do the follow-up to see, do they want to go deeper? Do they want to do the Dutch test? Do they want to work with you? Okay. So that'll be really helpful. One last time, as I thank Kelley, I'll leave the Dutch QR code up on screen. Kelley, the time that you take with people on those calls, your willingness to be an ambassador for me on the summit, your willingness to like show up and kind of leak out what's in the forefront of your thinking on things is something that I feel is such a gift. I feel so blessed to have this time with you. I know you're busy. Thank you so much for doing this with us
Oh,
today. I
you're
really
so
appreciate
welcome. I
you.
mean, thank you for having me on here. I'm always just thrilled that people want to learn more about Dutch and learn more about how they can help their patients with this test. So really, thank you all for being here.
All right, you guys, scan that QR code, connect with Dutch. Again, an amazing community, amazing team over there. I promise you, you will get all the support in deploying these tests and interacting with your patients that you could ever need. Check out their free training, start there. And again, I do recommend that you pick a test, especially if it's an oddball one, and call their team and have